All right, great. Why don't we get started? So this is Dave Monahan, CEO Kleer. Thanks for joining us. This is actually our first webinar we're doing. And what we're trying to do is bring solutions that we found in market that are making a real difference in dental practice results and bring them to you as part of some of the services we're providing. And where we're starting, as you can see, we're going to start with Great Dental Websites. As you probably know, they're a tech-focused dental marketing agency. They were founded about 12 years ago. They have about 750 dental practices that they're working with. We ran into Great Dental Websites about 6 months ago. We've been working with them, partnering with them. We've learned that they do a really good job. They have a major impact on dental practices' ability to help their attract new patients to the dental practice. So we're really happy to have Jeff on with us. And just a quick introduction. Jeff Gladnick, he's the founder and CEO of Great Dental Websites. He comes actually from a family of 8 dentists, but he went into software instead. He can explain that if he'd like. He has an obsession for building the best possible software for managing dental websites and also the marketing campaigns that come from the websites. Jeff's in Denver. He has a wife and 2 kids. It sounds like he's got a lot of animals, just like myself. And unlike myself, he's got over 100 plants in his house. So you can ask him about that if you like. There is going to be a Q&A session at the end. If you have a question, if you scroll down and down to the bottom of the webinar, you'll see there's a Q&A box. Just enter any questions you might have. And with that, I'd like to welcome Jeff and have him take it from here.
Thanks, Dave. And so as you mentioned, we're going to be talking about some marketing tactics and best practices for websites, how you can try to find some new patients online who are already looking for you. And once they get on your website, how we can try to convert them into new patients. That's me. My little video is pretty representative. I've done marketing for dental practice for about 12 years now, about 20 years of overall experience in website development and marketing. There's a quick picture of my part of my family tree. Dentists tend to reproduce. So my grandfather had my dad and 2 others dentists, and then my dad had another dentist, and my brother and his wife, who's also a dentist, are probably going to have another dentist at some point. We got him on the other side of the family tree too. So you can kind of imagine what Thanksgiving was like around my household. And I grew up listening to the business of dentistry being discussed over turkey. And I really tuned out for the clinical stuff, but I was always interested in how the business worked. And that led me to create Great Dental Websites. We currently work with almost 800 practices out of our Denver and Sydney offices. And we're fortunate enough to win the County Choice Awards for website design and development the last 2 years running. We don't know yet if we won it for a 3rd year. We'll see. So today what we're going to cover, a couple big wins that I wish every practice would do that don't cost a lot of money and don't take too much effort to get underway. And then I want to talk about how we think you should be viewing your website and your marketing. And your website should really become the hub of all your marketing activities online and off. And once we have that in place, where are patients looking for dentists, and how can we do what we can, or do as much as we can to increase the odds that your practice shows up where they're looking. And if we have time, we'll get into some extra stuff we can do to improve patient loyalty and that sort of thing. Patients normally go through this sort of rough life cycle where they're looking at first. They have a need for a new dentist or some sort of oral hygiene problem. And they're going on Google, they're using word of mouth referrals or on social media, and they find a couple of options that they want to consider. And then they do kind of an evaluation. They look at your reviews, they look at your website content, they try to see if they should even bother calling. And then they decide to reach out and try to inquire about appointment. And they may use the phone, their contact form, online booking, or live chat. And that's the point where your front desk really has that crucial role of trying to convert a new patient into or a new prospect, I guess, into a patient. And once they come in, are they going to be wowed? Is this going to be their first appointment with you or their last? It's really critical to have a great first experience for the patient, even though that's not really the focus of my talk. And then after the appointment, do we follow up and ask for a review? Do we try to schedule their next appointment? If they have left you a great review, what else can we do with that the next time the patient comes in? So the first thing I want to talk about are the big wins, and specifically online reviews. I think this is something that almost any practice can implement really easily into the, oops, sorry. into their practice. And let me get this thing back to full screen there. There we go. And the one thing I want to point out here is there's a huge percentage of the population that trusts online reviews as much as personal recommendations. For millennials, it's almost, it's a little bit over 90% with some qualification for certain types of businesses. If they're multiple reviews, some people just believe 40% straight out for anything, which is shocking to me, but these are what the stats say. This is from a Bright Local survey that's considered the kind of the gold standard for online review surveys. Even that middle group of 35 to 50-year-olds, it's still getting close to about 80% that will believe reviews authentically. The older crowd's a little more skeptical, except they do rely on reviews disproportionately more for medical and healthcare, which isn't shocking. That's more concerning to them. And I've often heard people say, well, you know, I've got a great Facebook page, and that's where we really promote the practice. We don't really need a website. I think you still do. And this trend is getting even more important for a website over time. This was 2017, this is 2018. So the first thing that most people do, almost half, just a pure majority, is they go visit the website. And that makes sense. The reviews we view as a gateway or a hurdle that you have to overcome. And once they've established that, okay, enough people like them that they're safe, then they'll go to your website and they'll be more inclined to believe what they read because they've gotten a little social validation. And it doesn't have to be perfect either. Most of the population will be perfectly happy to work with you if you at least have 4 stars. So, you know, between 4 and 5 stars is what we're shooting for. It's okay if you get one bad review from time to time, as long as we have a good strategy in place to consistently get lots of good ones. And you only need about 10. So if you're starting from scratch and it feels daunting and you're looking at other dentists in the area that have, you know, 10s or even 100 reviews or more, you don't necessarily have to get there on day one. Just 10 is what you need to play ball, and you can pick that up pretty quick in a few weeks. And a lot of people will leave a review if you ask them, especially millennials. And so you can really get your reviews from the millennials and use them to convince the older demographics. All the reviews kind of count the same, so the millennials are the ones to ask. And so just to quickly sum this up, I mean, almost everybody's reading reviews online. It doesn't take a lot to get trust. There's one thing I wanted to note, that 40% of consumers claim to only look at reviews written in the last 2 weeks. So this means that this has to be an ongoing process. You can't just get to whatever number you have in your head for reviews and just cut it off and stop. You want to keep asking for reviews again and again and again. And also respond to negative reviews. This has to be done artfully. You don't want to blast the person, even if they're like fraudulent. You know for sure they're not a patient. You never know if they're using somebody else's account to leave a review. They may just be confused or a little elderly and unfamiliar with it. And we don't want to make a HIPAA violation either. So work with your marketing company. But sometimes we've had success getting reviews removed, especially if they say racist things, or at least responding to them and reaching out to the patient directly. And sometimes we'll get them to change it. Not compelling them, but they'll feel better about it and they'll go back and change it. And the result, if you do this right, this is what a victory looks like. This is a client of ours out in Hawaii, and they come up nicely. The reviews help with this. It's about 15% of the algorithm, and it's one thing that you can execute on almost yourself. There's a couple of automated programs that they all kind of work the same. Patient completes treatment, you get a text message, goes to a page with some links to leave reviews, and then the patient chooses to leave a review or they don't. A bunch of companies do this. Bird Eye and Podium are probably the most popular. Of the two, I think I like Podium a little better. I think their software is a little bit better run, and they have a couple more options that I don't think Bird Eye does as well. Best Local Reviews and Social Review Wizard are more bare bones, but Social Review Wizard integrates with the PMS system. Best Local Reviews does not. So Podium or SRW, I think, are two choices to consider here. And you're not allowed to bribe patients to leave reviews. I know that a lot of people do it, but it is against their terms of service. So if you're doing it, don't get caught, because you really don't want to get blacklisted and have to pay a penalty for this. But if you can't bribe your patients, you know, who could we incentivize here? And the answer is your staff, your wonderful staff that's all around you. We have lots of practices that have offered $5 or, you know, even Starbucks cards for $5, and they just keep a stack of them and hand them out like candy every time they get a new review if somebody has claimed it or claims they spoke to the patient about it. And that's a great way to kind of get things going initially if you're starting from zero. And so hopefully we're all on board with reviews at this point, and we're ready to jump down that rabbit hole. And in the meantime, though, we want to get some video content on your website too. All the marketing campaigns we do for clients always work better when there's video content. And this shouldn't be too much of a shock, because this dentistry is a very emotional buying decision. And we recently had our hardwood floors done, and we had to buy hardwood flooring. And we really just wanted to make sure they weren't like cutting down some endangered species in the Amazon, and then the price. And that was about it. It didn't really matter to us too much how much we liked the person who's going to be selling us the hardwood flooring or the installer. It really didn't matter much, as long as we didn't feel like we were going to get ripped off. But dentistry is very different. We are going to be hiring a professional to stick their hands in your mouth. That is a very emotional purchase. There are a few other professions that have such similar services that are legal, and you really have to open up to the patient. And video is one of the best ways to do this, especially for people that, unlike me, didn't go to their dad for 35 years. They have a dental phobia. They were concerned because they might have been hurt by the last dentist. So video is a great way to bridge that gap. And so what do we want to see? We really want to see you, the dentist, explaining your services or your practice philosophy, and just letting the practice get to know you a little bit. We make and manufacture these tripods that we give out to our clients, so they have a nice steady base. You can even use a smartphone. It'll look okay. Smartphones have gotten really good cameras these days on them. Lighting is really important, and the smartphones will downgrade the video quality if your lighting's bad, in order so you're still visible. So if you can get bright lighting, you'll look really good, and the camera won't downgrade the video quality. Also, you want to be about twice as far away from the wall as you are from the camera. So if there's 5 feet from you, the camera, put 10 feet behind you, and just scale that down however you want. What you don't want to look like is you're up against the wall, like you're about to get shot because the rebels took over. And try to make an interesting background instead of a blank wall. Do yourself a favor, get yourself a $15 microphone camera on Amazon. $15 on Prime. It'll get there in 2 days, and this will remove a lot of the noise, and it'll make you sound like a professional for $15. Don't use any technical jargon, and be personable. Even if it takes a shot of tequila or two, don't exceed 2. Know your limitations, but do whatever you need to do. But we really want to get you on camera and get you exposed to your patients, so they can start to get to know you. And sometimes shot of tequila helps loosen you up just a little bit. And everything I'm telling you guys has been beta tested on my own family members. And my dad, for better or worse, has been the primary recipient of this. And I remember him telling me, before we spent about 2 or 3 hours recording a bunch of videos, it took a couple takes. I helped him out, get it all set up. I think he said something effective: no one wants to listen to me on the internet talk about teeth. And technically he was right. I think there's 4 or 5 billion people on the internet, something like that. Only like 1,000 or so have viewed his videos, but this is 2 or 3 hours of time. What percentage of conversion rate would you need to justify 2 or 3 hours of your time as a dentist? Would a 20% conversion rate? That's 200 patients. How about 10 or 5 or even 3? That's 30 new patients for 2 to 3 hours of time. I think he's gotten well in excess of that low number. And I think that's a great use of your time. It costs you nothing besides that, and $20 for a camera. And this will help you you convert a lot more of your marketing campaigns into productive new patients. And so we've talked about getting some reviews to get past that first gateway of should we even bother with the website? It's video content to put on it. What else do we need to have on a great website? We really want to have contact info that's readily easy for the patients to find. That's the whole point of why we're doing this. We want you to have original content and copywriting, and not steal it from somewhere else or just use canned content. We want you to really express your uniqueness. Pictures are really important, both for bios and before and after cases. We talked about videos. Same thing with the office. We need to have office tours in there, and there's a critical thing that most office tours get completely wrong, but it's very easy to fix. And if you have any financial policies or information, or if you have a great in-house membership plan like Kleer, we want to make that available to patients too, so they understand that their treatment may be more affordable than they thought. Now, there are some conventions that we want to follow and we don't want to break. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. The internet's been around for a long time, and consumers have started to expect a couple of things. And one thing they expect is the contact information to be in the upper right-hand corner. Don't try to put it in the bottom left or the bottom right or like the middle. Like, put it where people are expecting. Let's not try to change them. Let's change our behavior to them. Contact should always be on the right. Home should always be on the left. These are conventions that we don't want to break. We also try to feature kind of 3 to 5 of our more important items that we want to promote or that people already like. So usually the get to know the dentist video, page is prime there. And there might be a specific service that we want to make clear, or emergency patients, new patient paperwork, things like that. We're trying to solve as many of people's problems as quickly as we can. That's the whole point of how we design homepages and menu navigation. On a mobile view, this is very important because I believe it was like a few years ago that the majority of traffic online is now on mobile devices. Your phone has to bring up your website flawlessly. And what Google wants you to have is a mobile responsive design. They want the same web page for both your mobile and your desktop views. And it's easy to see if this works for you. If you bring out your phone, it should go to the same website you have, not going to like some .mobi or m. Or a separate website. Same website, and it should come up and look pretty much like this. We shouldn't have to zoom or pinch like it's on a desktop. We want to have a call button at the top, contact form, a map link if they're driving so they can find your office very easily, and a menu navigation they can just touch with their thumb and get going. Contact information is pretty self-explanatory, although it's critical to get this right. Phone, fax, address, hours, these are signals that are used by Google's local search engine to figure out that you are the same dentist they have on their records. We want all those things to be consistent. Even little things like suite numbers, that can make a crucial difference. Where if you're in suite 200, don't say number 200. You got to use suite 200 everywhere, everywhere online. Also, this is a great place to consider mentioning online booking if you have that option available to patients. The key to copywriting is to consider your unique value proposition. And the best way to think about this is what sort of brand image you portray to the marketplace. Are you targeting an older demographic and focusing on dentures and implants and stuff like that? We have some clients that do that. We have many general dentists that are targeting families, really targeting that means moms. I think they make 92% of the healthcare purchasing decisions in households. So then we want to represent ourselves as this community fixture. We want to show up to the town fairs and parades, and we want to make it clear that we cater to kids and we have a friendly office for stuff like that. Or are you targeting a higher-end cosmetic crowd? And we want to talk about how the primacy of the education, the quality of the materials, how spa-like the waiting room is, and the absolute quality of the results. But that all needs to be shared with your copywriter so they can work this in. What we don't want to have, and it also has to sound like it's coming from your voice. We don't want to create a really jovial, conversational approach if that's not your attitude. And we don't want to have a really buttoned-up, serious, type of copywriting if patients come in and you're joking around and goofing off with them. Some patients will love that. Other patients won't. It's important that the branding, the video, and the copywriting all kind of support each other like that. So make sure you share this information with your copywriters. They're not asking for that. That's a bit of a red flag. The other thing is we really want to avoid any words that might cause or trigger a fear in a patient's mind. So instead of saying pain, we should say discomfort. And don't say drill, say shape. And if we want to say shot, just say anesthetic. And those little things, if you say them, you can. For some people, you'll feel the hairs raising on the back of their neck and their blood pressure raising as soon as they hear the word shot. If you're anesthetic, it just doesn't have the same visceral reaction. And so bios are crucial. They're usually the second or third most popular page on your website. Everybody needs a picture. Even people who say, I'm not photogenic, you still need a picture. Just smile. They're going to love you. We ideally like to see the whole team together, and I know a little bit about your personal interests too. Throw those in there. Try to keep religion and politics out of it unless you're really dang sure that that's gonna fly in your area. And most of the time, even in really saturated markets, one party or the other, it usually doesn't. You can also include little videos so people can get to meet you right on the bio page. This is a client in Southern California. they've done just that. So we can read a little bit about, Benjamin Delgado, and then we can click and play his video too. Nice little touch there. Before and after cases are another place we want to have pictures, not like this. This is an image that, to me, the work may be fantastic, but what it really reminds me of is that scene at the end of Predator when the alien removes its mask and tries to fight Arnold Schwarzenegger to the death. And it just looks like this sort of medieval torture device just clawing your cheeks open. It's not a pretty sight. What we'd rather see is something like this. If we need to use cheek spreaders, let's crop those guys out. And ideally, we just see the mouth. And we're also telling a story here. There's a narrative. This makes it a little bit easier for the patient to visualize themselves or imagine themselves having similar results. And if you're waking up every day and looking at something like this in the mirror and wondering how much longer you have to tolerate this, it's going to be like this the rest of your life. Is it too late? How long is it going to take? How expensive? We can try to answer some of this and paint a picture. And just read this real quick. Rodney has been going a long time being unhappy with his smile. We're describing his emotions. He started his trial, smiles transformation, and he did 6 month smiles. Then we did porcelain crowns and veneers and bonnings on his lower. And now he loves his smile. And if you're looking, and again, if you're at home and you see this, and this is what it could be, this gives you hope and inspiration and may encourage you to call to find out, well, how much is it going to be really? And what do I need to do, and how much commitment do I have to do to get a similar result? So that's why I love before and after cases. They're good social proof that you can do a great job. And they don't have to be perfect. A lot of dentists tell me that, all of my work, I'm still getting better at this. They're good enough for consumers. Let's not get too carried away here. You're going to be fine. Just don't use stock photography and use your own work. And all of this content needs to come together on this critical service landing page. This is the page when we're setting things up for clients that we're trying to rank for Invisalign in your city or dental implants in your city. And Google wants to have a couple of things. They've got to have at least 500 words, which means that scannable content that we had looked at earlier in copywriting with these headings makes it easier for people to jump down and see what they have. And I'll zoom in on these in just a moment. We want to have doctor bios in here second, and video testimonial, before and after cases, FAQs, blog posts. So if you're coming to this page, this looks like it's about cosmetic dentistry. There's a lot of supporting information for you to understand here. We can meet the dentists who are going to be doing it. We can hear patients talk about why they liked their cosmetic dentistry. We can see examples of cosmetic dentistry that are all related, and then find out more FAQs or have blog posts that we want to read. And all these things impress Google to the point where it really increases our odds for getting picked when people are searching for that specific service in your area. And this is what winning looks like. If you look for implants in Fayetteville, Arkansas, one of our clients, Dr. Kiefer, he comes up third in the local listings, comes behind a periodontal implant specialist and an orthomaxillofacial surgery specialist, but he's third, general dentist. And he also comes up first in the organics. And what comes up, that landing page made specifically to attract searches for dental implants. But we got to give Google what they want. They want all that content, and they want all the supporting information. That gives Google a lot of meat to sink its teeth into to find a good match for its keyword. And it also keeps patients interested and doesn't send them right back to Google, which is a signal to Google that the link they just went to is not interested, and they won't show it as frequently. So office tours and photos are something that I see a lot of practices get wrong because they forget one crucial step, and that is keep the people in the photos. We're not selling this place on Zillow trying to unload some real estate. We are selling a healthcare business, and that is, as we've talked about, an emotional purchasing decision. So we need a great camera. I don't think an iPhone will cut it here. Use a DSLR and consider a professional if you're not, or if you're not, at least a pro-am. So, and this is what I'm talking about. We want to have smiling people in the photos. You could show the X-ray machine, or you could show the smiling technician standing in front of it. She doesn't look like she's going to give you a hard time. This looks like a nice, friendly appointment that I'm about to have. This person looks like she might know me. I'm going to have a good time. It's brightly lit. Everybody's happy in these photos. Even the dentist, you can kind of see a smile underneath his mask. Even the person in finance who's going to help you get your membership plan set up, she's happy. You know, if you don't have your credit card, don't worry. Just bring it to your next appointment. Everybody looks like they're happy and willing to help you in this office. I love that. And I hate it when practices forget to keep the people in the photos. It really takes something away. So what now? We've got a great website. How do we get people to find us when they're online or offline looking for a dentist? What can we do? Well, one option is search engine optimization. And the real basics of SEO are we want to tune up the website and configure it in a way that Google will be most likely to show us when someone's looking for a dentist or search terms related to dentistry in our area. And I don't want to get into too many of the details in here because this could go on for days and bore everybody. I don't think we'd have anybody left by the end of it. But I want to tell you a couple of the basics. The first one is the title tag right here is what roughly inputs to this link. Google can sometimes change it, and I may have taken old screenshots here that don't reflect it. And the description informs what this second line is going to be. And sometimes Google picks what they want. You're lucky if you get these little short links. We get a little bit extra real estate here, and this URL is just your domain name. But somebody has to go through every single page of your site and optimize these title tags and the description tags. That's what Google wants. They do not want the same title tag for everything. If we're on the page about implants, we want that title tag to be about implants, and we want a description talking about implants that's human readable. We don't want it to just say the same dentist in your city and then a generic description that works for everything. That won't be specific enough for Google, and they're not going to pick us. They'll pick somebody else. The local listing is another huge factor that determines who comes up under these map locations here. And this has to be claimed. Sometimes they want to verify you with a postcard or a phone call, but it has to be completely filled out. We need pictures in here. We need links. We need hours and information. And all these addresses need to match too. And of course, having great reviews helps as well. There's also don't get too intimidated by this code. It's not really relevant, but you can plug your website into the structured data testing tool, and you should get something back that looks kind of like this. Google, Bing, and Yahoo all got together, and they hardly agree on anything in between suing each other. But they said we all need to have this kind of local standard for small businesses that are promoting themselves to local search these days. And the solution to this was schema.org. It was a standard that they all created and they all respect. And there's one for dentists. There's one for every conceivable business. So make sure your website comes up for this and is checking that box to tell Google, you are this type of business. You're a dental office. To sum up the best practice for SEO, we want original content. We need it to be optimized for humans and Google. We don't want duplicate content. We want unique tags. All those directory listings need to have consistent addresses. MozLocal is a good tool to find problems with this. And we want to make sure those little things have been tuned under the hood for Google, preferably by a professional, but you can take a shot at it yourself. Just make sure you have good backups. A good way to track performance is keyword monitoring tools. This is one that we make available to our clients. We want to see things improving. It's like the stock market. Sometimes things go down, but they generally go up if we're on the right track here. And the real goal we're after is organic search traffic. This is traffic from Google that we haven't paid for, and we want this to be increasing over time. Now, if we want to buy our way to the top, Google has an option that they love to sell, so those are pay-per-click ads. And these are the ads that pop up at the top when we're searching for almost anything on Google. You can really granularly target specific zip codes that you want that are perhaps more well-to-do. You can only show ads on days you're open or hours you're open. And you only pay if somebody clicks. So even if this is loaded 100 times, if nobody clicks it, you pay nothing. But they will start to show other people. And one great example of how to do this is when everybody's closed. If you're open, if you have an advantage with hours, or you have you're open a little earlier or a little later, somebody's looking for a dentist right now. This is in San Antonio, I think on like a Friday around noon, and everybody's closed. Somebody clever in Denver saw the same thing and started to advertise just on that day. And that's a very effective way. If you're open, don't advertise when you're closed, but unless you have a system to take messages where you're willing to pay that kind of extra premium for a lower percentage completion, we have online booking. But this is a great idea to come up highly when you're the only option, because the organics aren't really good options if I need to talk to a dentist now. The most successful ad groups we've had, general dentistry is generally the cheapest and the broadest appeal. Invisalign and implants are good specialty campaigns that are generally pretty lucrative for our clients. Now, pay-per-click ads are good because they allow us to target intent. And that means somebody has demonstrated that they're looking for something online that we can provide an answer for. So we bid on that keyword. Now, Facebook doesn't do that well, but what they do allow you to do is target demographics. So we can target people who have moved to a new area. We can target upper-income moms that have children. We can target women whose relationship status has changed from single to engaged. They're very likely going to be wanting teeth whitening and perhaps some other cosmetic procedures before their wedding pictures are taken. And Facebook allows you to do all sorts of targeting like that. This is an idea of what ads look like. Usually there's some kind of offer to compel people. That seems to work a little bit better than just putting up a generic ad. And so there's what if we want to do our own public relations campaign? Some of our practices will tell us that they don't do anything interesting, but if you really think about it and brainstorm a bit, there's usually something that you can do that would be newsworthy. And a couple ideas for you to think about are scholarships, contests, mission trips. We have a lot of clients do those for charity or just for they just enjoy doing it. Any local charity too, firefighters, veterans, the poor. Any really unique equipment. If you're the first dentist in your area with a 3D printer and you can print teeth, that's kind of interesting. That might get you on the local news. So a couple examples of scholarships. This is a page on a practice's website about their scholarship. Ideally, we want a page on the institution's website about the scholarship, ideally with a link back to your website. Because if we can remember SEO for a second, Google does not want you to buy links. However, if you fund a scholarship, they will usually give you a link on a .edu domain, which has a lot more value than a .com. .edus are considered more authoritative by Google. So we can effectively buy a really high quality link, a nice strong signal to Google that we're a legitimate business and we're important. And it might only cost us like $500 a year. And we get a press release out of it when we give away the scholarship. And we might get some more pickups in the local media. So personal interest stories, you doing something interesting, you have some sort of personal accomplishment, that might be worth sharing with the community. Somebody who really values physical fitness may feel that you're this guy, Dr. Bogan, that their values align with theirs, or his values align with theirs. This dentist, I can't remember, I need to look this up, but I can't remember what this dentist did, but he noticed something and like the girl's having a bad reaction or something. He sent her to the emergency room, which saved her life. She was a few hours away from death and the dentist happened to catch it. Boy, is that good PR. And even better, one of our clients, Dr. Lutwin, the guy from Hawaii I mentioned earlier, was at the beach and he used to be a lifeguard. He's a really good surfer. And he noticed a family out by some rocks in an area that was super dangerous that he knew they shouldn't be in. And they looked like they're in trouble. And they're calling for help and he swam out there and saved them on a surfboard. And he saved their lives, a dad and his daughter. And that got a ton of exposure in the Bay Area where the family was from and in Hawaii. And he kind of sheepishly, he's a pretty humble guy. He shared this with us. And first thing on our mind was we need to contact these publications to get some backlinks pointed back to your website. And we did, and it helped. That was probably the last thing on his mind is paddling in the waves. But any newsworthy events like this, please share them with your marketing company. Same thing, mission trips, little good coverage in the local paper, charity work for veterans in this case. There's a dentist in Texas that has created a cottage industry about finding hardship cases in the news and then offering them free dental care and then sharing it on Facebook. And this dentist, if you Google his name, has almost 12,000 results. It's probably not that many. Google deflates it, but there are tons and tons of stories about this guy. What great PR for yourself. And he told me they got 150 new patients a month. Now he's a startup, so that can't be sustainable. But it's just incredible what he's been able to do with that. So try to find a scholarship in your local community if the conditions are right, which means they're going to give you a link back to your website. And share your community contributions when you have them. And share those big ones with the press. So how do we share a newsworthy event with the press? Well, find your local publication. In my case, it's Denver Post. And try to look for something about dentistry or charity with dentistry. That's ideal. We try to find this person. Aha, this is Holly Graham. Here's her info. Great. How do we contact Hallie Graham? Well, she has a Twitter handle and an email address. We can try one or the other. And we want to make it easy for her. Reporters tend to be overworked. So we just want to give an introduction and bring up the article that we're doing. That she may have forgotten she wrote about that dentistry charity event a while ago. Reminder, give her a quick pitch, and we always have to offer access to the dentist or the practice manager for additional quotes. We're not going to be too selfish with that. And attach a press release for them. And this is generally the outline you want to follow. Please just steal this. Headline suggestion, sub-headline suggestion, facts about what this is, a little bit more information, some quote, an additional facts and information, any background, another quote, and then final details, and then some boiler information about the practice, and then how to contact for more information. The press will love it if you do this for them and make their job easy to determine whether or not this is a good fit for them. So there's also a website you can sign up for called HARO that is kind of the same thing in reverse. If a reporter needs to talk to a dentist, they can go on HARO and look for one. So if there's a local human interest story about water fluoridation or mercury fillings or whatever, you can talk about that to the reporter, and they'll reach out and contact you. Just try to be careful not to get involved in any weighty political topics that may alienate a portion of your patients. But other than that, it's not a bad thing to do, and you can always say no. Signage is always useful. These signs on the right are from a company called twosign.com. Pretty clever. The one on the left is a client of ours in Florida. So it still says it's his best ROI, and the only inconvenience is when daylight savings hits, and he says, like clockwork, no pun intended, he'll get a couple calls complaining about the time being off. Promotional items and gifts. I'll go through this really quick. The key here is you want to give away something you love. Typically, we'll see a little bag with some dental care stuff. Some of our clients give away these high-end like Sonicare things, but we don't want to give something to somebody they're just going to stick in their closet. We don't want to give them, their 8th favorite water bottle. Try to give them something they'll use around their peer group too. Pop sockets are great. We've all had lunches staring at this guy and his phone. Really, you put an ad up there for your practice, and moms love these especially as they're trying to corral kids and maintain a grip on their phone. Same thing with yoga mats or water bottles. And again, get a really nice water bottle. Make sure that your water bottle is the new favorite water bottle. It's better to spend 3 times as much and get a nice water bottle than spend nothing and get one that nobody cares about or values. And you can get your own Sonic toothbrushes for like $19 from China. Get that in before the trade deal is announced or killed. And so in conclusion, we want to give patients something they're going to love and something they're going to use, especially if they'll use it around your target demographic. And the other thing that we can do is we can talk to patients in different ways than before. A lot of the traffic to your website is going to be outside of business hours. Look at all this evening and early morning traffic. It's not nearly as much as business hours during the day, but website's important. Contact form is important. Online booking worth considering. Same thing with calls. It's always shocking to me when practices are closed on Friday and they don't even answer the phone. If you really need new patients, this is almost as valuable as other days of the week. These stats were pulled from our customers, by the way. And the worst one though is practices that close for an hour completely and don't answer the phone at 1 o'clock. Oh boy, 12 o'clock's almost as bad, but 1 o'clock is your busiest time of the day. You've got to be answering that phone. Do not have a 1 o'clock lunch hour where no one answers the phone. Stagger your staff's time so somebody can at least take new patient phone calls. A lot of patients are demanding those expanded hours and days. And if we cater to them, we can do some of that cool stuff we saw earlier, like running ads when other competitors are closed. And live online booking is another solution to this. It'll let people book online. There's a couple popular vendors here. I know a lot of people have Open Dental. I like them. I think they're very well priced and they have a good product. Local Med is pretty popular. ZocDoc is too, but they don't have a great reputation. Not really a fan of their business practices, so I'd recommend Local Med or Open Dental. You still want to call those leads back and confirm them. It's easy to book and sometimes it's a little too easy to cancel too. So treat them like a normal inquiry instead of a done deal. And if you're doing a lot of marketing, you need to track it. If people are being honest, they really don't care about how much marketing costs. They really care about how much it's going to produce for their business. And we want to be able to get as much data as we can. And I know how this sounds too, because there's a lot of sharks in our industry that will say anything they want to dentists in order to get a sale. But if they're being honest, this is really how marketing is done. It doesn't always work the same everywhere. Sometimes, a really great ad campaign just doesn't work in another area because it's just too competitive. Sometimes it doesn't work at all. And so it's important to be a little bit flexible and have a system in place to track it and kind of do some trial by error here. And you can do call tracking for this. And you can use this even offline. And a great way to do this is with a vanity URL. So if the real URL is Coleman Smiles, we're going to use Coleman Dental for the billboard. And if the real phone number is 431-3355, we're going to use 3311. This way, if somebody calls the billboard, you'll get assigned to that number. And if somebody goes to this tracking URL, we're going to forward it to the real URL, and we're going to inject this tracking number there. So either way, we're going to figure out that this came from the billboard, and after a few months, the practice will get some nice reporting about this. And here's an example of one we did this for. This was a client in Louisiana, big practice. They're running everything everywhere. And after a few months, we gave them back their data, and they ended up killing or renegotiating a bunch of the contracts because everything was not equal. These two TV stations are pretty close. This one stinks. Out of the radio campaigns, we have a winner, we have 2 strong second places, and 1 loser. And same thing with the newspapers. One's doing really well, one's okay, one's not so great. And so it's time to renegotiate with newspaper number 2, because if they're charging the same as these other guys or newspaper 4, oh boy, that's not a good value. It's time to put that money somewhere else. We've built some software to try to automate this process. And essentially what it does is it compares call tracking data, caller ID, and phone number with new patient information. So if the phone number matches or the new patient name matches the caller ID or the form, voila. We can start to automatically assign that. It's not perfect, but it's pretty dang good. And we can start to give reporting for a number of patient visits, how much revenue came through from the individual appointments, and then people can drill into this and listen to the calls and the audio, or even look at all their email forms in one place. There's a couple of companies that offer this as a standalone service too. And if we've done a good job getting patients, we want to keep them, and we want to try to turn them into evangelists for the practice. One thing I watched my dad do growing up was call patients personally, especially those first visits, to make sure everything went well and if they had any questions and how they're feeling. Setting out appointment reminder cards is a given. Really the goal for the first appointment is the second appointment and getting that booked. Make sure they're on your mailing list or your newsletter. And also, don't forget to send them a request to leave a review. And if they give you a positive review, especially if they give you a really enthusiastic one, mark their chart, so the next time they come in, consider asking them for a video testimonial if they have time. And if you have a patient membership plan, this is a great time to make people aware of it. They've just come in, they've had a good experience. Why not sign up for something for round 2? This will help increase the stickiness, we would say, of the patient, improve their patient loyalty to your practice. And little touches, hot towels, noise canceling headphones. These are things we typically get to experience if we get lucky and get upgraded in first class. And it really kind of makes a special experience, especially the first time you have it. This will really impress people and give them an outsized impression of the quality of your office, which is good. We've seen practices do VR goggles and little gift baskets too. So, we've learned a lot about what makes a great dental website, I guess I could say, if you'll forgive it. We've learned a lot of ways about what we can do to bring new patients into your practice that are looking for a dentist online, and what we can do to increase the odds. And I hope I've given you at least a couple of actionable items that you can put to work immediately in your practice. I know that for many of you, the competition for patients has increased over the years, and you face a lot of pressure from all sides, insurance, corporates, and just sheer numbers of dentists in the market. But we've enjoyed working with hundreds of dentists just like you. And if you feel like we'd be a good fit, my phone number is right here. Give us a ring. We'll get in touch with you and help you out if we can. Hopefully this was helpful. Thanks, Dave, for having me on. I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has at this time.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks a lot. That was great. Yeah, I just another reminder. There's a Q&A box at the bottom. If you want to post a question, please do. I have 5 questions right now, and I'll keep a look on the box to see if anything else comes up. The first question was, does it matter if I collect reviews from millennial, Gen X, baby boomers? Does the NICS matter?
No, Google at this point, I don't believe they differentiate. So you can ask millennials who are more likely to get a review, and that'll impress the older demographic just as much. You usually can't tell that well anyway from the response unless you really start researching the people's like pictures, which sometimes they don't even post.
Great. Another review questions. Question was, at what point are reviews too old? So at what point, I guess, do they become irrelevant or less valuable to Google?
I don't. There's definitely a belief and some evidence to suggest that Google values more recent reviews, although it's difficult to determine how much. But that survey that I cited at the beginning did say, I think it was like 40% of people wanted to see reviews in the last 2 weeks. And so just having a consistent system where you're always asking for reviews will just make that a no-brainer. It's something you have to worry about. Just get one of those programs, put it on autopilot, and you don't have to worry about the last time you asked for reviews, or you just don't have to worry about it ever again.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know you think about myself when I look at reviews and look into the dates, and it doesn't matter to me. And you're right. If they're a few weeks old, I'm looking for something new. It starts to feel stagnant.
I definitely do that. I know my wife does that on Airbnb, and we've saved ourselves from some disasters where everything's great, and then all of a sudden something's happened, and the place is going to hell. And now there's rats, and the place smells like smoke, and nobody likes it anymore. And this all happened within the last month, and we'll try to get out of it in those cases.
Cool. Next question: is it okay to use an iPhone for videos?
Yeah, especially at first. I'd rather have people kind of get a pretty good video out as quickly as possible for not a lot of money. And you just use a tripod, use that little $20 Amazon microphone I showed you. Make sure you have good lighting. If you do those things, I'd love to see it because a lot of our clients have produced pretty good videos with that, like B+, A- videos for free.
Great. And I was going to say, yeah, we had experience with that as well. And actually, when we do videos with Dennis, Dennis actually liked the raw nature and sort of transparency and how authentic iPhone videos are. Okay, next question. How much does it typically cost to get to the top of the Google ad list?
Well, the ad list depends, but usually you're bidding on a click. And so the way that they rank you is based on mostly who has the highest bid. So you're paying the most. You can kind of bully your way in there. But that's not enough. Like if Kleer wanted to advertise for a boat marina, near like Philadelphia or something, it's like you guys have nothing to do with boat marinas, but you're trying to force this ad for like in-house membership plans in there. Eventually, Google is going to reject it entirely. Like, nobody's clicking on this. It has nothing to do with boats. Why are you guys even doing this? It doesn't matter how much money you keep increasing it to. So they also take into account the quality score. So how relevant is the page that you're sending them to the query? So if you're bidding on implants, you want to be sending them to a page just about implants, and that'll also lower your price. And it really varies wildly. I think it's usually from between like $1 to $15 per click, depending on the area, how competitive it is, and the service that you're trying to bid on. It's really the kind of thing where that we'll have to run through some tools that Google gives us and give each client a specific quote. It usually takes about a half hour to do the research, but usually about $1 to $15, closer to 1 for general terms and closer to 15 in really competitive markets when you're looking for Invisalign or higher dollar procedures.
Great. And then the last question, I'm just looking at, I don't see any other questions posted. How accurate can marketing lead tracking be? And I have experience with this as well, so that's a good question.
Yeah, I think the old adage was half my marketing is working, I just don't know which half. And there are tools, and the one I showed are doing a good job of improving that, but it's never going to be perfect. And if you, Dave, if you make a phone call like right now from your work and call Dennis, it's probably going to show up on the caller ID as Kleer, show your corporate number. But you're not Kleer, you're Dave Monahan. And so you'll tell them that, and oh, here's my cell phone. So programs like ours that are trying to match this up are going to fail. Now, you can always listen to the calls, and we will listen to some of the calls if they're long enough. But if you've called previously and you spoke for 10 minutes, and you're like, I'll call you back. And then you call again, and it's like 20 seconds. Just, hey, it's Dave again. Just wanted to confirm I am going to do it. That may not trigger a review. So And the other thing is caller ID is not always right. Sometimes your phone is a corporate phone that doesn't match up. Sometimes you're calling on behalf of a relative that you're booking an appointment for. There's lots of little things like that that interfere with that ROI attribution. But we feel that we've gotten it from 50 up to like 70 to 90, depending on the practice. We don't have enough data, and we continuously are trying to improve it. But I think that's probably the upper limit on where these things will go. You'll never get perfect, but having some data that you can at least extrapolate across all your marketing campaigns, it's all going to fail relatively the same. So whether you're running pay-per-click or Facebook or SEO, they're all going to have the same limitations with what I just described. So you can at least compare them relatively to each other.
Great. Yeah, and I was going to say, we aim for about 75% accuracy in our business. So that sounds like it's a good benchmark. Great. So Jeff, thank you. Thanks for the content. It was awesome. Thanks everybody for joining us. We will be sending out a link to the video if you want to pass it along, if you want to check out more details. And if you need anything else from Jeff, there's his contact information.
Thanks again for having us.
Right.
Have a great one. Bye-bye.
Have a great weekend, everybody.